Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about cartoon politics. That's right. It's all about cartoons. Remember way back when they all got the Flintstones and all these fun little cartoons you'd watch? Well, today we're going to be talking about politics, though. It's all about cartoon politics. So stay tuned. Bugs Bunny, do you like Bugs Bunny? Oh, well, we're not going to talk about Bugs Bunny, but stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies Podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. Brought to you by politics. And that's what it is, cartoon politics. I've just been being funny here. I'm actually in the capital region of British Columbia, Victoria, BC, and joining me is Neil Matheson in Newton, British Columbia. And today, we're going to be talking about cartoon politics, so please subscribe, like, and share the content, and check out the podcast where you find best suited for you. If you love to listen to it when you're on the go and you don't have time to watch the podcast, certainly there's options to choose from. And if you want to be a donor, well, reach out to us. If you like the content, like and share at the bottom, buy us a coffee, and yeah, there's so many options. It helps to really grow our channel. Hope you love the content that we're putting out on a weekly basis. We try to do 2 shows a week. Sometimes it's 1 show, sometimes 2. But we try to be consistent. But if you want to be a guest, reach out to us too, and we can get you filled in.
I don't think I could do 4 or 5 shows a week, but I think it might
Yeah,
that'd be too many.
that'd be too many. Too many shows in a week. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's why we usually do Mondays and
I
Fridays.
think, for people that only do like a 10-minute video or whatever, that's easy enough. But I mean,
Mhm.
our shows are at least an hour, so I mean,
Yeah,
it takes a long time to come up with the idea and do the thumbnails, and then also all the post production stuff. Like
yeah,
I don't edit any of the stuff. Like what you see now is kind of what you get, but
yeah.
I still have to edit things afterwards, as far as putting the for example, putting the getting the audio, like it's just getting the audio portion to
Hmm.
the other sources, like Apple Podcast and that,
Hmm.
and there's the other podcast channels, and then also putting in the bookmarks
Hmm.
later after the fact too, so that people can fast forward to particular parts of the video if they want to. So
That's
I mean,
really
all that takes time, right? So anyway.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes on, post production. Definitely, so people can better access the channel. I know one of the things before we get started on the show today, heard some comments about accessibility. Making
Yeah,
sure that's accessible. Just to let people understand, like it's not to do with us. It's the YouTube actually put
yeah.
out they within 24 hours. Yeah. So
Yeah, the closed captioning.
yeah,
I always get comments every
yeah,
once in a while. Somebody will say, "Why isn't there closed captioning? You're not being kind you're not being kind to the deaf community." And what it is like you said, the closed captioning. If you have a live broadcast like we do,
hmm,
um, it always takes a while, like around 24 hours
hmm,
for YouTube to produce the closed captioning. And it just makes sense, right? Because right now we are live,
yeah,
and I mean, if this was only a 10-minute video,
hmm,
then it takes no time at all for YouTube to just go through it and like, oh, I got it,
yeah,
and you can post it right away and no big deal. But when you have like a longer format like this that's live, it takes 24 hours for YouTube to parse through the whole thing and actually title it properly, the
yeah.
subtitles or
Yeah,
the
I
closed
didn't even know
captioning.
that myself. And
Yeah,
yeah, before, and now I know how that works.
yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thanks everyone for tuning in today. Definitely, you can, sit back and enjoy the show. We're going to talk about cartoon politics, but after today's show, who do we have coming up?
Yeah, Rob Shaw.
Rob Shaw is
So
coming
so
up.
this kind of feels like a little bit of an appetizer
Yeah, yeah,
before he comes on, because of course we're going to be talking about BC politics when he comes on, because
yeah.
he's a legislative reporter here for BC politics here. He works for Czech News in Victoria.
Hmm.
He's a journalist too. And of course, he's got the podcast, the Political Capital podcast. So we're
Hmm.
gonna have him on and talk about all that. So this kind of feels like a little bit of an appetizer for for
Yeah.
when he comes on. And again, the reason I made the thumbnail of cartoon politics is that you know sometimes you know what's the saying is like BC politics is never boring. There's always something going on,
Oh,
right?
always
But
something.
also it sometimes it just feels a bit of like a joke,
Hmm.
like
It's like the Titanic chairs, right? You just
yeah, it just
them around.
like it's like you kind of shake your head going like, what's going on? Like you just
Yeah.
shake your head like what's
Things
going
that
on?
make sense, right? And you go, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, now it's completely opposite. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, and so we're gonna get into the first thing,
Hmm.
and just recently, Eleanor Sturko,
Hmm.
she's she's with the BC Conservatives here.
Hmm.
Um, she got basically kicked out of the BC Conservative Party,
Yeah, I'm just gonna look
and
for the clip on that while
so
we're
we're gonna talk about that first. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um, there's definitely it's never a dull moment in British Columbia. There's always a changing scenario when it comes to BC politics and British Columbia.
Hmm.
Um, like I say, one minute you see everything all positive. Oh, it looks all
Yeah.
great. Like nothing to see here, folks. It's all
Yeah.
good. Then all of a sudden, boom! It's like a bombshell
Yeah.
dropped right on
Yeah.
that, and that's why we call
And
it
it caught everybody by surprise. I think John Rustad has been his leadership has been challenged for
oh yeah.
basically ever since, like, even on election night when he won,
Yes.
like almost like the day after, I was already hearing people saying, John Rustad is a bad leader. That was the day after
Hmm.
when he almost won, and
Yeah.
and he did really well. There was still the day after there was people saying, "Oh, John Rustad's not a good leader,"
Yeah.
and then you've had a
Yeah.
couple defections, and now you've got another now you got another in Sturko. They've lost four from within their party now.
Yeah, they were at 44 and now they're down to 40 seats.
Yeah.
And I heard rumblings right up to the election too. And people were really dismayed of like what all this stuff in their platform. Like they waited to the last minute to
Yeah.
put their platform out. Well, then, but they almost won though. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing, right? I mean, they didn't even put their information, like their platform out, and then they almost won like a slim,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
ultra
we're
slim
talking like a
one, one
one
seat.
seat win for David Eby.
Yeah,
And you and I have talked about this lots, like off the podcast,
yeah.
is that, I back in October of 2024, when the election was happening,
Hmm.
I wanted to, there was a part of me that really wanted to vote conservative.
Hmm.
Well, first of all, I have to say that I also toyed with the idea, like I wanted to vote for the BC Greens, but I didn't have a candidate.
Hmm.
There was no BC Greens in my area, so I
That's great
couldn't vote
too.
BC Green. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. So then I also toyed with the idea of voting conservative because I didn't want to vote NDP. I just didn't like I've said before, the difference between John Horgan and David Eby is like an enormous gulf,
Oh,
and I just didn't feel good about voting NDP
yeah.
back in October. I just didn't.
Well, that's kind of where I was at too. I was tossed, voting for, the BC NDP.
Mm,
But it was frustrating because, yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, two different leaders, two different, ideological ways of leading the province. John, he started out with really great, like a surplus, as he progressed before as some of the news media would put out there, snap election, right?
Yeah.
During the COVID, but he did really well with Andrew Weaver from the BC Green leader, like when he was the leader
Yeah.
for the BC Greens, um, and with him and John, they joined partnership. Yeah, there was some tough times though between John
It
Horgan
worked
and
well for a while. It worked well
yeah,
for a while.
they were really at knockerheads for a while, but they
Yeah.
become to understand that they became great buddies after a while. Just different ways of
They
looking
went to
at
see
things.
rugby games together.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah. So they really got along well with the supply and confidence agreement in BC.
Hmm.
And so yeah, like the honeymoon part was great. Then it came to an end as we know it when there was an election. Things went kind of a different direction on that. But of course, everybody, the PWD community in British Columbia thought, great, hey, we finally got a government in here that's actually going to raise our rates. They recognize that there's income inequality, housing affordability, just in general, the affordability for people and less street disorder. Things completely went upside down after David Eby took over.
Hmm.
I mean, and this is no slingshot at David. Yeah, you personally, David. But from what I hear around the community, people said there was a complete different leadership, just an ideological view
Yeah. Just,
on how
just the
you're
whole
going to,
style. The
yeah,
whole
and how you're
style is completely
province.
different.
I
Yeah.
mean, there was one of my neighbors said, "Oh, I remember hearing you on the radio in 2023, wasn't it?" Yeah, yeah. And I said, about raising the rates, and I said, it was. I said, and the question didn't come from me. It came from actually my manager, who
Hmm.
actually asked me a few times, and the following year, and they said, well, did he actually raise it? No. And again, his response, David's response was, well, have you not looked at the earnings exemptions? I mean, because we can, in other words, get a job. That's how you're going to get more money. We're not going to
Hmm.
raise the rates. He didn't say the words, we're not going to raise the rates, but we will look after people, in British Columbia. Well,
Hmm.
that's basically saying the same thing. Because going back, it's interesting because we look at that whole situation, and when you see one scenario, think things are going great, then all of a sudden it's a 360. But it's a domino effect of when you don't listen to people in your community or throughout the province, it really has a negative effect. And it's
Yeah.
not just the people with lived experience. I mean, it's their family, it's businesses,
Yeah.
doctors, nurses, you name it, and people, the word gets around and say, oh well, should we vote for that party? Are they really that cold and not wanting to raise the rates for so people can thrive and better their life in so many ways in British Columbia and give back to the communities? My view is, I mean, it doesn't matter what political party it is, nobody should be living in legislative
Yeah.
poverty, right? And
Well,
so yeah,
yeah, let's get back to the conservatives though,
yeah,
and make the point that for me the biggest reason why I didn't want to vote for the BC Conservatives is because, like you alluded to, they didn't release their platform until after the election.
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't until after the election that they released their full platform. That was the first thing. And the second thing was John Rustad himself was very wooden.
Hmm.
Like he just was not. He's not a charismatic. I mean, and that's. I mean, he is what he is. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't make somebody something that they're not. So,
exactly.
but it was weird though. Um, like it was almost like the 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 day after the election, he kind of loosened up a little bit,
Hmm.
and he kind of let people into his more of his personality.
Yeah.
But then he kind of retreated again, like very soon after. Like you know what I mean? Like you kind of got a glimpse. Okay, this is who John. Like nobody really. Like remember how go back to John Horgan, the other John.
Hmm.
Remember how John Horgan told you? He says, I'm gonna make sure that Brent that you tell people who John is, who John
Yeah.
Horgan is,
Yeah, and
because
people didn't know who John Horgan
because
was.
nobody knew who John Horgan was, and that's the problem with John Rustad, is that John Rustad didn't let his personality show. Like, he basically was as dull as dishwater, and I don't mean that. It's going to sound like an insult, but I don't. I mean, I guess it is an insult, but I don't really mean it that way. I'm just saying
Right.
he's not charismatic, and he didn't. He's got a personality. He's got
Hmm.
a personality, but he didn't let it show.
Yeah.
And
Let it
and
shine. Let
he
it shine. Yeah.
yeah, let it shot. Let people know. Let people see your personality. But
Yeah.
he didn't. He was so closed off.
Well,
And
That's how John Horgan was at first because
yeah,
people didn't know. Like at a convention, well, we were at, and people in the community didn't know who John was. So who's John? Who's John Horgan? And when Sonia and myself, we were at a convention, and we approached John. Hey, you two, and how's it going? I said, well, good. I said, but we need to tell you something. So Sonia said, what's up? Well, Sonia said, what did I don't remember quote from quote, like word from word, but I'll give you everybody just an overview. When she said something about, well, people don't know who you are, John. What do you mean people
yeah,
don't know who I am? I'm John from Langford. Right, you're John from Langford, right? And that's great. I mean, I know who you are. I go, but not everybody does know. Well, then you need to
mhm,
get the word out and
yeah,
let people know who I am. I said,
yeah,
actually, John, you need to get the word out. We'll help you, but you need to
yeah,
get the word
yeah,
out. And so he started touring around more and more.
yeah,
And we connected the dots with him, and helped him along his journey. And so I think maybe John Rustad's team, maybe they just didn't do that and helped John along the way, and encouraged
yeah,
him to get his name out there, and let his let him shine the way he is, like personality wise. I
hmm
mean, John did the same thing. We helped coach him, and I mean, the best way we could. And I think that goes with any party leader.
like I said, I saw glimmers of that
Yeah.
kind of the day of the election, or the day a couple days afterwards. He let his You could see that he was trying to let his personality shine a bit more. But
Mhm.
then ever since then, he's just slowly more retreating. And I don't know. It just kind of rubs you the wrong way as a voter. You're like, I don't know if I can vote for that.
Well, well, the person,
Anyway,
yeah. Just before we
oh,
quick
okay.
move on to the next part, like for the for the PWD, benefits. When I looked at their platform, the conservative platform, there was nothing in there. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
so I didn't even know who to vote for because there was nothing there. And I looked at the Green Party. Well, $2,400. They ran with the $2,400 narrative. And then there was people with signs out there in my community, all around the city, and I bumped into some of the canvassers, and I said, yeah. So I heard that they're wanting to increase the PWD rates in BC to $2,400. And one of the canvassers said, say what? Yeah, it's in the platform. I didn't know
Hmm.
anything about that. Okay, but you're a canvasser and you didn't know that they're going to raise it to $2,400. I go,
Yeah.
that's not a good look, right?
Yeah.
Because people want to have their lives better because the BC NDP, they didn't have anything in their platform about raising the rates. The only thing they
Maybe it was gonna be a bait and switch thing for the BC Greens.
Well, yeah, but I looked at the platform of the BC NDP at the time, and the only thing that was in their platform they ran with that narrative was the CDB, the
Hmm.
federal Canada Disability Benefit, nothing about raising PWD rates in BC. So right away, there was a lot of people that in my building and surrounding buildings, like from roads from here, of different
Hmm.
apartments. I mean, we got lots of them around the area here, tons, and throughout the city. And the basically the common theme was, why should we vote for the NDP if they're not going to raise the rates? I mean, people kept saying, well, they're relying on the CDB, which is a federal benefit. And that
Hmm.
was, I think, the thing that almost really hurt the NDP in BC, because they didn't run with about raising the rates. They should have looked at what the Green Party was proposing about raising it to $2,400 per person, but they didn't do that. And so
Hmm.
they almost lost. They almost lost the election by one
Yeah.
seat.
Yeah.
I guess going forward, maybe they probably look at that and probably say, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that one again.
Yeah.
Oh, and we got some breaking news here. Sonia's got some breaking news. What is it, Sonia?
Elenore Sturko went to the UBCM, and she sat in the very front row was John Rustad at the stage.
Oh, did you hear that, everybody? Oh,
Rob Shaw just posted it now.
I'm sure there's a lot of stink eye going on there.
So that's our next topic. We're going to Brent Frain.
Yeah, and you know,
thanks, Sonia.
I'm sure on Monday. I'm sure on Monday, Rob will talk about that.
Yeah.
The stink eye going back and forth between the two of them. So actually, let's launch into this whole Elenore Sturko thing.
Sure.
She really is, or I should say, was a star candidate for the BC Conservatives. You know, and so there's this clip that you're going to play, Brent, and we should say that you're going to hear Elenore Sturko. That's one of the voices you're going to, because we're just going to play the audio. So you're going to hear Elenore Sturko, her voice, but then you're also going to hear the voice of Brennan Day, and he's also a BC Conservative MLA from Courtney Comox, and you'll hear him say something like it's definitely a short-sighted move, not a good decision for the longevity of the party. So he's come out really vocally against what John Rustad has said, and we also have to say that Anna Kindy, which is also really interesting. Anna Kindy, she's a MLA from the North Island, and a lot of people from the BC Conservatives, if you ask for their opinion, they'll tell you that Anna Kindy is considered the most conservative of all the Conservative candidates.
Wow.
And even Anna Kindy said that Rustad was kind of showing cancel culture.
Oh,
and
okay.
and I'll just kind of leave it like that. But then I'll say also too that David Eby called Elenore Sturko's firing homophobic.
Oh.
And you know, and it's just kind of funny, like when I compare Anna Kindy, where she said cancel culture, I'm pretty sure that she was just referring to kind of silencing voices, silencing strong voices. That's probably what Anna Kindy meant. But of course, with David Eby, he's kind of more blunt, and he always kind of goes with the lowest common denominator. That's always kind of what bothers me about David Eby. He's going with the lowest common denominator of, well, that's just homophobic. Like you remember like the whole during the election campaign, you know, David Eby was calling out John Rustad and saying, well, if you want to vote for a bunch of anti-vaxxers and flat Earth conspirators and homophobes, if you want to vote for anti-vaxxers or flat Earthers and homophobes, vote for the BC Conservatives, right?
Yeah. There's the bug.
Yeah, but I just found it very interesting because I know for a fact that Elenore Sturko herself, you know, she's a gay woman, she's a lesbian, and I know for a fact that Elenore Sturko herself would not say that what John Rustad did was homophobic. I know for a fact that she basically hasn't done that yet. Right? All she said was that what John Rustad did was a power grab, basically. That he was worried about his hold on the party. And anyway, I just found it weird that David Eby always kind of goes with the lowest common denominator all the time. Well, that's homophobic, and nobody else is doing that. Only David Eby does that.
Odd, yeah.
It's very odd, very odd. Anyway, go play the clip. Like I said, you're gonna hear Elenore Sturko, and then you're gonna hear Brendan Day talk about that's not a good look. So go ahead.
All right, here we go, everyone. And make sure here gets the audio here. What's going on here? Hang on.
A long walk, personal belongings in tow, out of caucus. Now, a day after getting expelled from the BC Conservative Caucus, Surrey Cloverdale MLA Elenore Sturko not holding back, saying John Rustad only booted her because he's a weak leader, who felt threatened because of his own failings.
But I know for a fact that John Rustad's leadership is on shaky ground because I know the number of caucus members who share my concerns.
Behind this closed door on Monday night, Global BC has learned numerous Conservative MLAs express concerns about
Here's
Sturko
Brendan Day.
caucus and question, in one case openly, what this may do for the future of the party.
If we're going to broaden the party, that's definitely a short-sighted move.
Sturko was one of a handful of MLAs that shook this place up more than a year ago when she jumped from BC United to BC Conservative, saying she describes herself as fiscally conservative but socially liberal.
There was always some division, and you would see it on Twitter. Am I really a real conservative? And when you look at that kind of a statement, it's like, I'm one of the strongest critics on crime and drugs. I'm a fiscal conservative. So what could they be alluding to in terms of my conservatism? I feel that it's about being a member of the LGBT community.
Rustad is still grappling with a provincial approval rating at 28%, according to a recent poll, saying very little publicly about his decision to boot Sturko.
She was an effective critic. She did a good job, and I wish her well for the future.
Why did you fire her?
She was an effective critic, and I wish her well for her future.
Her former colleagues still trying to wrap their heads around the decision.
When you lose somebody, when you have some traction like that, it does hurt, right? And Elenore was a strong voice.
Trigger helper.
Yeah.
Office.
A party once buoyed when Sturko herself jumped on board from BC United, now down from 44 less than a year ago to 40 MLAs, and trying to desperately stop sinking. Which is us from Global News, Victoria.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
I mean, Sturko does make reference a little bit to the gay community, but again, I really think that if we had her in front of our faces right now, her main point has been like, that John Rustad was just threatened, like he felt his power was threatened. First and foremost, that's what it comes down to, right? It's not a homophobic thing,
It was interesting where the reporter asked John, hey, why did you fire her?
Yeah.
And this same comment that he had just given just before that question was asked. So it's just talking points. It's just they don't like to answer the question right directly. And I think I think it really does come down to the numbers, right? Holding on to groups for voting. How many 2,100 basic ballots were out there, and they had to scrap them. And out of all those ones that were scrapped, apparently they were even he was recreated 2 dead people. Apparently.
Oh, I know.
Like what the heck? Like
isn't that crazy? Eh?
Yeah. Like come on. And of course, he didn't know anything about it apparently. So yeah. I don't know about that, but maybe he did. I don't know. Who knows? Right? But I mean, he claims he didn't know anything about it. But again, the signs are showing that the party needs to really regroup and I think start listening to the things that are really affecting British Columbians, affordability, like so many things, and that affect people's lives. And I think, it's like they all need to be on the right page. And right now, I think they got too many people going different directions within the Big Tent party. They got
let's.
A bunch of parties.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, Brent. Like maybe 3 minutes if possible, but we have to kind of give a little bit of a history lesson of like basically the BC Conservatives were born out of the fact that BC Liberals basically blew up. I mean, Christy Clark essentially just tarnished the brand of BC Liberals so bad. So bad that the party felt they had no choice. They felt they had no choice but to rebrand and just rename. And you remember we've talked about this before. When we had Dan Davies. Sorry, I was having a brain fart. But remember we first had Dan Davies on. It was in May of of 2023.
Yep.
And that was just after the BC Liberals rebranded themselves to what was it? BC United, right?
Yep. It's
And,
like,
I mean, that sounds like a
like a pink unicorn. It's like,
yeah, that sounds like a soccer team, right? But
Yeah.
I remember, like, I mean, I love Dan Davies, right? So when he came on, I didn't want to put him on the spot and say, well, your new name sounds like a soccer team, and put him on the spot.
yeah.
But I kind of knew right then. I'm going, this whole rebrand is not going to work. It's going to blow up in their face.
Yeah.
And so what do you have now? You have basically, it started back in August of 2022. You had Kevin Falcon that removed Rustad from the BC Liberal caucus.
That's right.
So he was booted back at, so that was August of 2022. Then you had Rustad joining the BC Conservatives, and he became the
Leader.
only member of the BC Conservatives in the legislature, and that was in February of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, then you had in April of 2023, you had the BC Liberals rebranded as BC United,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like, not even a year and a half later, like, not even. So in August of 2024, and so this was maybe 3 months before the election in October of 2024.
Yeah.
That Falcon had to basically kill off BC United because he didn't want to split the vote.
Yeah.
So I mean, and now you've got three parties of basically what was BC Liberals. You've got one BC.
Mm-hmm.
You've got BC Conservatives. You've got you had the BC United, and they're going to be rebranded again back to BC Liberals. So you've got three parties that have come out of BC Liberals. So it's just
But then they got central. I think they got that center party too now, right?
Yeah. So maybe there's going to be another party now. So three or four parties coming out of one party, and it's kind of a mess, right?
It is. It's
yeah.
a mess. I mean, speaking of the cartoon politics, just the other day, yesterday, we got a new leader. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I made notes on that too. And you can go ahead and talk about it. But Emily Lowen, yeah.
Yeah. Emily Lowen is the new BC Green leader for the BC Green Party. 25 years old. She doesn't have a lot of experience, with that. I mean, like as a leader, obviously, but I wish her well, though. I really wish her the great success in holding the BC NDP account and any other parties that are affiliated around in the legislature, and making sure that people's voices are heard. Again, I kind of look back again. I look back at when Andrew Weaver, going back in 2017, when with the BC NDP, and then we had Sonia Furstenau, who then took over after Andrew Weaver. She held the NDP account to a lot of things, especially with persons with disabilities. She was very loud, very outspoken person, and I'm gonna miss Sonia Furstenau in the legislature.
She was good, yeah.
She was really good. I mean, we had they had the
Adam Olsen too.
Adam Olsen. Oh yeah. I mean, those two were like the tag team. I called them the tag team.
Yeah.
And of course we have Rob Buttrell. He's in there right now.
And a really good move by him, by the way, helping Elenore Sturko with her box of belongings.
Yes.
It was just a real classy move on his part.
Yeah. And then the leader for the current, was the leader, it was the interim leader for the BC Greens too. Between the ones that were in there. But what I'm kind of wondering though is, how is Emily Lowen going to get a seat? Because there's no seat for her in the BC legislature.
Yeah.
She's going to have to wait until there's
She's going to have to wait.
Who knows when that will be.
Yeah.
But unless unless one of the Greens give up their seat, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to make sure that her voice is actually heard, like right in the legislature. So yeah, that part's going to get interesting. The next, I guess, the next clip that.
Let me introduce it a little bit.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Like again, the reason why we're talking cartoon politics is because there's so much mess. Like there's so much mess about of like we just talked about the splitting off of all these parties, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a part of David Eby that's kind of, rubbing his hands going, oh boy, isn't this good? Like, and it kind of is. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, whenever you have other parties in disarray, it's always kind of good for the other parties. Like, wow,
Oh yeah.
puts me in a good position. But like again, if you refer back to the thumbnail, there's a reason why I included David Eby on the thumbnail, and I included Selina Robinson, and it's because David Eby did the exact same thing to Selina Robinson that John Rustad did to Elenore Sturko. Like carbon copy, basically, right? Carbon copy. It was like copy and paste, like so as gleeful as as David Eby can. I was like, wow, But I mean, he if he comes down hard on I mean he wouldn't care, I guess, but if ever he was critical of John Rustad and saying, well, you shouldn't have done that, John. Well, he did the exact same thing to Selena, so
Interesting.
yeah, so who is he to criticize, right? Because he did the exact same thing. So that's what I mean. We'll get into that, right? And we have to do a little bit of a history lesson here, because of course Selena Robinson, she's a Jewish woman, um, and she when she was let go, she was booted from the party, and when she was let go, she was Minister of Advanced Education, right? And she was invited to attend a Zoom meeting, and it was hosted by let's see, I've got my notes here. I've got a lot of notes here, but it was hosted by a Jewish human rights group, basically, right? So she was talking to an audience that was predominantly Jewish anyway, on a Zoom call, and she made kind of the unfortunate comment uh, of during the Zoom call. She said, in 1948 that when the Jews were, you had all those Jews that were displaced during the Second World War, right? With they were you know basically on the run, fighting for their lives from the Nazis. And so after the war, they were displaced. There was a lot of Jews that were just displaced, and so then the United Nations decided, well, we've got to have a place for them to go. So then, Israel was created in 1948, and so all Selena was trying to do there was to create a sense of emotional context. We always talk about, keeping things in context. And so when she said crappy piece of land, she was kind of referring to, one, the fact that Jews felt displaced already, right? That they were booted from their homes, like whether it be whether they were coming from Germany or whether they were coming from Poland, or like when the Nazis invaded, they invaded a lot of areas, right? And let's remember, they killed 6 million Jews during the Holocaust, right? And so this is all part of the context, and this is what Selena was very passionate about. She's gone on record, and I know that even her and David Eby were working together to create a curriculum in the schools, because Selena was saying that there's not very many kids that know about the Holocaust. Like, some people think that it didn't even happen, you know, and so this is just building context where Selina Robinson was invited to speak on this Zoom call,
Mhm.
and so she's providing emotional context, saying that that at the time in 1948 that Israel was a crappy piece of land,
Mhm.
uh, and and again, I don't want to go on too many tangents here, but
Yeah.
like when you talk about had a couple of videos where you talk about having to leave Langley, right?
Mhm.
And there's even been a couple videos of you where you actually get emotional and you were crying. I remember you were crying on one video
I know.
because you're so emotional about that attachment to Langley, right? And so again, like if you take things in context,
Mhm.
when Selina Robinson was saying "crappy piece of land," she was acknowledging the emotional context of these Jews that felt displaced in 1948, coming to a land that they didn't. I mean, they obviously had. If you go back to biblical times, the Jews were in Israel, or it wasn't Israel then, but they were in the land in biblical times, and so were the Palestinians, by the way. They were called Philistines. So you had kind of two tribes there, or actually there were other tribes that shared that land. If you go back to biblical history,
Mhm.
but so that was the context anyway. She was trying to provide an emotional context. That was the first thing. And the other thing is just the geological truth that the majority of Israel
Mhm.
is not very friendly agriculturally.
Oh.
Especially back in 1948. It is
Mhm.
now,
Mhm.
but even if you, I mean, anybody can Google this. If you Google and you ask Google how much of how much of Israel is arid or is possible to grow things on. I think I got here. It was um, over 60% of Israel Israel is desert.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so not
Wow.
capable of growing like currently over 60% of Israel is desert. Like there's a big swath of Israel that's it's called the Negev Desert or Negev. I think that's how pronounced it. Negev Desert. And so all that area, and it's predominantly in the south.
Oh.
There's not very many communities that are there. Like there's very not very dense populations because it's not a very hospitable area, right?
Okay.
And so that's what she's getting at too. That there's over half of Israel, that especially the top, or sorry, the bottom half, the southern part is desert. So it's like, well, who wants to move to a desert when some were coming from Poland, or some were coming from Germany, or some were coming from Bulgaria, or wherever, right?
Yeah, where around the world, yeah.
Right? And so that's the context, right? And so anyway, she said crappy piece of land, and it was taken out of context.
Okay, so yeah, I can see the point on that. And what I found really interesting is when David Eby, the premier of British Columbia, had his comments towards Selena on that, and then of course Selena's
Yeah.
comments back toward him, and then but then there was a maybe not super recent post, but remember there was a post how David had said something about that same topic, but it was in a different context though. And I
Yeah.
saw that Selena had responded to him and went, "Well, that's not how you basically treated me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was completely the opposite." I was like, "Wow!" Like that's what I mean. How politics can
Yeah.
change so rapidly,
Yeah.
right? I mean, one thing when you're seeing a narrative going a certain way, then all of a sudden, boom, 360. It's like a different way.
So again, like I mean, I'm not gonna hide the fact that I'm a little bit sympathetic towards Jews, if only because my son is Jewish. He's got Jewish blood.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna have my bias. I mean, that I just am.
Hmm.
But I've said before, I mean, we can both agree, and I mean, even Selena herself agrees. If you actually read her stuff on Twitter, which I'm not religiously following her all the time, but
Yeah.
her posts on Twitter say like she doesn't like the idea all this war. Like she wants to see or she doesn't like seeing all the deaths of Palestinians.
Yeah.
Or she just doesn't like. I mean, war is ugly, right?
It
There,
is.
there, there's no winner. There's no winner on a war. There's
Yeah.
only losers, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to get people that are dying. You're going to get innocent people on both sides that are dying.
Hmm.
And again, if you actually go to Selena Robinson's Twitter page and read some of her stuff, like she very clearly says, I don't like war. I don't want war. The vast majority of Israel and the Jewish people don't want war either. But the fact of the matter is, you know, Israel has always been a bone of contention with a lot of people. And one of the things I wanted to say, and maybe people are going to get offended by this, but I mean, I'm just saying it is what it is. I mean, again, going back to the history lesson, why do you think, why do you think Hitler, Adolf Hitler, uh, murdered all of these Jews? Why do you think he did it, Brent?
Um,
And it's
probably
not
not
just
exactly. Probably not exactly the same person. I wouldn't think.
yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm just
uh,
throwing
uh,
out.
yeah. I'll give my 2 cents of really
Yeah.
what I think what it was is because uh, Adolf Hitler was a form of the Antichrist.
Uh,
So, and an Antichrist person is going to be in complete opposition to what God wants, right?
hmm.
And so, I mean, Adolf Hitler, I'm sure, has read a Bible, or he had read lots of Bibles, and he knew there's kind of this promise in the Bible that God says, I will promise to bless the Jewish people, like through the Jewish bloodline, all nations of the world will be blessed. That's a promise that is made by God Himself in Genesis 15. And again, people can take exception to that and say, well, now you're just being a Zionist, Neil. And I mean, whatever. I'm just repeating what is actually in the Bible,
Hmm.
where God is actually making a promise with he's basically saying, uh, I'm going to bless the Jewish people. And there's also I wanted to reference a particular verse in the Bible. Let's see. In Zechariah 12, verse 2 and 3, uh, Zechariah, I'll give another little history lesson. The book of Zechariah was written 500 years before Jesus Christ. Before Jesus Christ was even born, the book of Zechariah was written. So that means that uh, it was almost 2,500 years before even the formation of Israel that this book of Zechariah was written. But I'm going to read a line. I'm going to read a line from Zechariah. So again, this line from the Zechariah is prophesying 25 years in advance. Like it already knew 2,500 years in advance
Hmm.
that Israel was going to be a state. And so let me read this. It says, "I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling,"
Hmm.
and it says, "I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone."
Wow.
So basically, all nations that come against Israel, well, but basically God is saying they're gonna regret it.
Oh.
You know, God is saying that there's going to come a time in history when Israel is going to become a nation. It has in 1948, it did, but that all these nations are going to come against it, and then it basically says all nations that try to uh, come against the Jews will surely hurt themselves. It basically says that.
Okay.
So that again, that's a prophecy that's 25 years removed. Like it's 25 years, 2,500 years. You know, prophecy of like, you know, it was like so far in the future, right? Before this even happened. And so again, that's why you know that the Bible is God breathed, because you know God predicted that that would be the case, and it has been the case where you have you know that Israel has become this bone of contention. There, you know, just geopolitically. Another way to describe it is like I'm a big fan of chess, and you know I taught my son how to play chess. And one of the first rules of chess, if you've never played, there's you know there's all those checker you know a checker pattern on the board, and the closer you are to the center of the board, so there's basically the four squares, the four squares in the center of the board. That is basically the power. That is the power square. The power grid is right in the center of the board, right? Well, you can think of Israel as kind of the power center. You know, you can kind of think of it as kind of the ground zero. I mean, you know, again, Israel was the ground zero for Christianity, right? That is the birthplace of Christianity. So if you have Antichrist like Adolf Hitler, and you have uh, you know people that don't like God, of course, you know, Israel is going to be seen as an enemy to be wiped off the map. It's you know, so again, that's a little bit of history, and I just think the whole thing is unfortunate because, again, if we go back to Selina Robinson, when she made those comments of you know a crappy piece of land, she was also coming from a place of you know this was after you had those attacks. Uh, you know, when was that attack? Let me see. Um, I think I'm. Oh yeah, that was October 7th of 2023, right? You had the Hamas terrorist attack.
Right.
They attacked that music festival, and they killed almost 1,200 Jews. And so again, 1,200 Jews, and 38 of those were children, we have to say. So 1,200 Jews were just massacred, and they were at a music festival. Everybody was singing, dancing, having a good time. Hamas rolls in and just murders 1,200 people, you know, and so you have that as part of it too, right? And and then another thing that's interesting too is the day after that, the day after that, you had pro Palestine rallies that were burning uh, Canadian flags. And what were they saying? What were they saying, Brent? They were saying death to United States, death to Canada, and death to Israel. You had this rally, this pro-Palestine rally that was organized by Hamas terrorists. They've proven it. They've proven it. There was in Vancouver the day after they had a rally in Vancouver. They had a rally in Toronto the same day, the day after, on October 8th, and they had all these people on speakers saying death to Canada, death to United States, and death to Israel. Ooh. And if that's not hate speech, Brent, I don't know what is. So you can see the disparity there, where somehow people have interpreted Selina Robinson saying crappy piece of land as hate speech, which I've already kind of made the point that it was just, emotional context. She was providing emotional context of that time and place of 1948, of the Jews coming into a kind of a new land, giving it. And I gave the example of yourself where you felt displaced. You and Sonia have felt displaced, that you had to, you were,
And we still do.
you felt like you were forced to move to Victoria, and you want to go back to Langley, right? So it's kind of the same thing. It's for providing that an emotional context, and just because Selina provided that emotional context of saying crappy piece of land, people interpreted it wrongly as hate speech.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, and I don't think that's right.
Well,
I don't think you can
yeah.
say crappy piece of land is hate speech.
But the
And
part that really got me
you
is
know,
when David had gone after Selena regarding that, and then, like I said earlier in the show, is that then he said the opposite. Like he said the opposite,
yeah,
and that's why I think Selena said, in other words, in so many words, have called him like a hypocrite, of saying
yeah.
like now he was like defending it. It's
Well,
like saying,
it
well,
is very hypocritical, right?
yeah, and but then he fired her because of the views like of different things, and I thought, wow, that's when I say we say cartoon politics. It's
Yeah,
yeah, I know that those two have always had a little disagreement.
they've had always a bit of a beef, right?
Yeah.
But it was interesting because Selena herself has said that there was a time when David Eby was actually helping her. I said that
Hmm.
Selena was interested in creating that curriculum. Like
Yeah.
we all know that there's that curriculum for in indigenous studies. Like
Hmm.
just this year, for example, my son Jake, it's a course called First Peoples. He has this.
Okay.
It's a required course. It's called First Peoples. He's in grade 12.
Oh.
It's a required course, and ever since elementary school, he's had to take a course on uh, indigenous studies.
Oh,
It's a
interesting.
requirement, right?
How times
And
have changed. Wow, I
yeah,
have been
and
told.
like you and I never had that.
No.
You and I never had that growing up. And basically, again, Selina Robinson at the time as education minister, she kind of was sad about the fact that a lot of students didn't know anything about the Holocaust.
Mm.
And so at the time, she went to David Eby, and David was on board. He said, this is a great idea.
Okay.
So they actually agreed on that, right?
Wow.
But
Great.
then,
Wow, amazing.
but yeah, but then you have all this happen where she says crappy piece of land,
Mm.
and then you can see, well, basically, David Eby kind of panicked because we have to say as well, there was no other party that was criticizing what Selena said. Like there was nobody in the Green Party, for example, that said, "Oh well, Selena shouldn't have said that," or there was nobody
Yeah, I noticed that.
in
Yeah.
the conservative, nobody anywhere else said
Yeah. No, it's
Selena said
party.
anything wrong.
Hmm.
Only people that were critical was the general public,
Ah.
and you know and of course, you had people in mosques that were offended,
Hmm.
that were of course they were offended by it. But David Eby could have very easily said, don't get a you shouldn't get offended by emotional context. And I hope I made my point clear about this whole thing. I know I've kind of harped on it, but the reason why is because really at the when it comes down to it, the whole thing of crappy piece of land, all she was doing was providing emotional context and also a bit of truth. It was geographic truth that, like I said, the southern portion of Israel is not, particularly in 1948, was not agriculturally friendly.
Hmm.
That's I mean, anybody can just Google it and look it up. I mean, it is what it is. And so here you have a very, I mean, you know, I think Selina even admitted in her apology it was a little bit of a blunt statement to say, "Oh, crappy piece of land." But again, she was just saying it out of emotional context
Right.
and basically acknowledging the truth of the time at 1948 that, yeah, the southern portion of Israel, there wasn't many, it was very inhospitable. Like half of it was,
Hmm.
and so she was just stating a truth statement,
Yeah, I remember.
and somehow it got all misconstrued. And yeah.
Yeah, and I remember hearing about how she was explaining it, and I mean, I remember when I was back in high school. I mean, having history, our history teacher would teach us a lot about around the world of why things happened when they happened, and how did Canada come to be, right? I mean, I bet a lot of people out there think, well, how did Canada come to be? Well, I mean, I learned all that in history, and like all your provinces and what are all the capitals of each
Mhm.
province, and who is the prime ministers. And they'd go back, a teacher would teach us all that, like who were the previous prime ministers, like going back. And it got drilled into us around the world of what went on, and why did things happen the way they did. And I can tell you a little bit about, a little bit of history. I mean, as I've explained many times on the podcast, in previous shows down the line, where I mean, a lot of you know that I was adopted, right? And I don't
Mhm.
shy away from that. I was brought up by my mom, who I thought was my mother.
Mhm.
And I got to know my mother, so I had two moms. I had my mom and my mother. And one of my wishes that I wanted for myself was, wouldn't that be neat if I could actually introduce, and my mom and my mother, there was a little bit of feud going on. There was a feud going on because after I was adopted by my mom, who had brought me up, and God rest both their souls. They both have now passed away in different years. Um, and when I thought to myself, I thought, I would love to actually have my mom and my mother just once actually be together,
Yeah.
and I actually made it happen. My mom was perfectly fine with that. My mom, meaning my mom who had brought me up. My
Mhm.
mother was a little bit apprehensive about it, because there was some hard feelings. But really, what it came down to was my mother. Why there was hard feelings is that she, which I'll get into another show about it. But I mean, I'll just briefly give an overview. Is um, at the time when I was born, my mother wasn't ready to have me, but she was ready to have me in her life when I was just a toddler. So she basically made my mom's life a living hell. Apparently, I didn't know all this stuff until I got older, and I started asking questions. And um, my mom actually had said, "Well, why don't you ask your mother really what happened when the time is right?" Well, my mother, and I dropped the bomb, right? I was like, I didn't know what was going to happen, and we were just sitting around with my father-in-law at the time. I mean, I just call him dad, right? Because I mean, but he wasn't one my dad, or I guess my stepdad, should we say? And so we sat there, and he took me on as his son. Like he really treated me as who I am, and respected his wife's decision at the time. But he wasn't in her life at the time, which I didn't know because she had got remarried, right?
Mhm.
And so I said to him, I said, that picture, I love that picture on the wall. I actually still have the picture. The picture is actually put away here, but I love the picture. And when my mother passed away, I was asked, "Do you want to have this picture?" And I said, "Yeah, I like that picture because it tells the story of who my mother was, and but also my stepdad,
Mhm.
and why he had a good black eye, but they polished it up to make it look like it was he didn't have it. Why is because my biological father, had punched him. He got into an argument with him,
Oh.
and I didn't know the story. He had gotten into an argument with him because he had said, like, why would you not want to be in Brent's life, right? Well, it was my father and my mother. They just weren't ready to have me. But as time went on, when I was a little toddler, they wanted to try to get custody of me, and my mom wouldn't want anything to do with it. So
Mhm.
I didn't know this story about it. It was interesting, right? And I don't regret not knowing the facts, and I never said, well, doing the blame game, saying, well, Mom, why did you wait all those years to not tell me what was going on, or blame my mother? I actually had them both together. We went for, I mean, oh my gosh, we spent a couple of days, and it was so nice. Like, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner with both of them.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was in a really good financial position where I actually took them both out for meals. Imagine that, how times have changed the buying power. But I'll always remember and cherish that. But hearing stories of my mother, her mother was in the World War number one.
Wow.
Her mother, like her mother's mother, and my grandmother, she was just a little girl when the First World War had just ended.
Yeah.
I got to know my mom, who actually had served as a nurse. She was a nurse, but nurse's aide also, and first aid tents and stuff and supplies. So she got to see and she was a little girl going through the hard times. There was hard times, and then the World War broke out. Number two
Mhm.
broke out. Um, yeah, like you remember hearing back in history, everybody remember hearing about the dirty 30s and stuff. Remember,
Yeah.
like the roaring 20s and the dirty 30s. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, after that, as we know history, then guess what happened after that? The World War broke out. My mom told me stories about that, and I'm glad how you explained it, Neil. Like, my mom said, there was good people on both sides
Yeah.
on all
Yeah.
the wars. There was good people on both sides.
Yeah.
There was people that loved to fight, fight. And I remember as a child, I said, why do so many people fight? Like, I remember hearing something on the news. My mom turned it off, turned the channel, and then, of course, teachers over time in school tell us in history lessons what
Mhm.
happened. And I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And unfortunately, it's going to be a part of life as you get older, Brent. You will hear it. So they
Mhm.
taught us about history of what went on. And my mom then kind of in parallel told me what she went through and a lot of hard times. She went through the Great Depression. She went through the recession. She taught me that just to do the best you can,
Yeah.
and just get, I mean, buy within your means, but at the same time, don't shortchange yourself to the point where you don't have your basics. And if it comes down to that, you have to ration. You have to ration the best way you can. And as as I got older, I started asking questions. Well, what does all this mean? And she goes, means that you have to script and save. You have to just try to get the most value and stretch meals out, stretch your resources out. And I guess it's a learning lesson that I have to the government too. Is I wish that every politician would actually sit down and listen to history, listen
Yeah.
to what people went through in the Great Depression, recessions.
Yeah.
I hear, oh, we're not in a recession. Yeah, we are. We are in a recession, and we've been in a recession for many years. PWD, persons with disabilities in Canada and in British Columbia, as a permanent citizen resident of Canada. I was born in Canada. I love the country. I don't like the way that politically that it's been driven.
Yeah.
It never was this way. It doesn't have to be this way. And it's all policies, everybody. And so when we talk about cartoon politics, it's like one minute you'll see a thing in a certain way, and
Yeah.
another way you'll see another party change it this way.
Well, one of the things I wanted to quickly mention, Brent, is my first wife, of course, she was Jewish, right? Because my son has Jewish blood, and but she was adopted as well. So
Mhm.
she had and my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
So my first wife was adopted by Dutch parents,
Mhm.
and you know and so and they were Christian Dutch parents, and so uh, but like my first wife was very proud of the fact that she had Jewish blood. She was very, very proud of that.
Mhm.
But she was equally proud. She was equally proud that she was also a Christian, right?
Mhm.
And so, so it just there was kind of a fusion. There was a fusion of two cultures, if you want. Like she was very proud. She was very proud of her Jewish heritage, and
Yeah.
she was very proud of the fact that she was Christian.
Oh, wow.
So like the for example, like the first 4 years that she was around for, almost five, when she passed away before Jake turned five, but basically for the first 4 years or so, 4 years or so of Jake's life, we would, or she would always make a point of us going down every year into Vancouver to do the Hanukkah celebration.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, like she was a Christian woman, but she wanted to acknowledge her Jewish roots and her Jewish heritage.
Mm.
And I also have to say too that um, you mentioned that you were adopted, and Ilana was too, and she didn't find out. Well, she knew she was adopted, but she didn't actually get connected to her parents until quite late. It was she was 25 or 26
Oh, wow.
or so, and
Oh.
and uh, basically the year before I met Ilana and so she was about 25 at the time. She tried to reach out to her birth mom, and
Mhm.
basically her birth mom wanted nothing to do with her.
Oh,
Um, like it was one of those things like I don't want anything to do with you. See you later.
yeah.
And her birth mom told my wife at the time. She said um, that because of course Ilana was disabled. She was profoundly disabled. And
Mhm.
so her mother felt at the time that when when Ilana was born that her baby having a disability, that was punishment. That
Oh.
she thought that was like a God's punishment or something, right?
Oh, gee. Well, and that's kind
And
of reminds me of when I had reached out to find out who my biological father was. Same thing.
yeah,
Same thing
yeah.
happened to me. Like why are you contacting me? And I actually had bumped into like a relative, um, and I just look kind of like through like family tree of this and that, right? And my my biological mother had given me a couple pinpointers names, and then she says, and I'm leaving it at that. That's up to you to do your own homework. So I
Mm,
did. And right away it was like, why, what do you want? Like, who are you? And I said, well, you probably, I don't know if you know my name, but he goes, he said he pretended that he didn't, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I got the wrong person. I thought, oh my
mhm.
gosh, like, and I started mentioning different names, and the phone went like dead, like it was like quiet,
Yeah.
and I was like, are you there? And I'm still here. I said, you seemed kind of startled. What do you want? I said, okay, are you denying it? Yes or no? If you don't have to, I said, I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to
Mhm.
know who you are. I just say, yes, I got to interact with my biological father. And I said, I don't want anything from you. You don't want child support or anything? I go, I don't want anything. I just want to know that I had the opportunity of actually meeting you. And then we'll leave it at that. If you don't want things to go forward,
Mhm.
I mean, that's fine. I actually did. I actually met with him. I had the opportunity of meeting with him. Wow. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like looking at him, and he looked at me and he says, I'm your father. I'm your biological father. And I
Yeah.
went, okay. I said, I know I didn't want to scare you. Like, and I said, if I'm
Mhm.
going to scare you away, if you don't want anything to do with me again, um, that him and I decided after a period of time that, yeah, like he's going to go his way and move on with life. And
Mhm.
I did. But I had the contact one. He said, but if you had any questions going forward in life, anything that you needed me to answer, reach out to me. And I did. I reached out. And I actually am getting. I guess I don't know how I did. I guess maybe it's a half brother or something because he had a new family, right? I said
Mhm.
I don't want to interfere with your family. I don't want I'm not here to meddle. I just had a question about biological things.
Yeah.
And so I phoned up, and I guess his son answered the phone, and his son goes hello, and I went hello. And so if you hear me say the word hello, and I'll say it again, hello, and I heard in the response, hello, like this same voice, Neil, and everybody.
Yeah.
Like, And I was like, and part of my language, I don't mean to swear on the podcast, but I'm like, holy shit. And I
Yeah.
said it again, and I said, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Like, wow. All of a sudden, here's, Dad! The guy like screamed. I thought, I thought, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And his dad came on the phone, and he says, okay, so you obviously spoke with my son. If my son wants to go further and speak with you in the future, he will have to be of age, and he'll reach out to you. He knows where to find you, I'm sure. Please don't phone the house
Yeah.
anymore, because now my wife is asking too many questions.
Yeah.
I said, I guess your wife doesn't know about me. That's okay. I said, okay. I said, you don't have to tell her. I don't want anything in your life. I don't want to meddle. I just wanted to know about biological stuff. So I guess my point is that learning from history, learning of where do things start? Where did things go wrong? Why is the world the way it is? How things can change. We've got elected officials and political parties in BC. Can they not work together? I mean, policy. We learned about just recently. I mean, with the UBCM that's going on, all the mayors in British Columbia and all the councillors have joined up together in front of the BC legislature lawn for a couple of days now in a row, giving presentations.
And they're all complaining about street disorder.
Yep, street disorder.
Yeah.
And the government says response is, well, one of the ministers says, oh, well, it's the data that shows that actually the street disorder is actually coming down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, it hasn't. It actually is going up, not coming down. I can vouch for that because I've seen, by living in Victoria for the time that we've been here,
And David
going up.
Eby took a trip to the States.
He did. He went to New York. He was there for
Yeah.
3 days. His administration said he was there for 2 days. He was there for 3 days. But he was on a trade mission, apparently,
Yeah.
for some big industry, I guess, partners to help create jobs for BC. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll see where that goes.
You know what I realized, Brent? Like this show has been a little bit of a hodgepodge a little bit because
Yeah.
it's hard to summarize everything, and
It
like
has.
I think I had too many notes actually. But I wanted to, maybe we can finish off with
Yeah.
the clip from David Eby because we never
Yeah.
played it, and the thing that really stood out to me is the amount of defamation and slander and character assassination. Like I'm not even understating anything.
Mhm.
The amount that he throws Selina Robinson under the bus. So that, again, this is back like right after David Eby just decides he's going to turf Selina Robinson from the party.
Mm.
He said originally he was going to have her back, but he just throws her under the bus and backs over her and backs over her again like 3 or 4 times. Like it's not cool at all. I mean, if you can play the clip, it's only 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But he basically treats her like like a 4-year-old. Like it just is so insulting.
Yeah,
Like
and Selina Robertson was our finance minister in British Columbia too.
I mean, you want to talk about hate speech?
Wow.
Like what David Eby did to Selina Robinson? Oh, that was borderline hate speech. And again, like he was caving. He was caving to the public opinion. I mean, I forgot to even mention. I mean, she got like a lot of graffiti on her office, her consistency office,
heard about that.
and she got death threats.
Yeah.
And
But then
basically,
David Eby had defended her. Like, I mean, when like the other way around, like and that's when she said, like, wow, like in other words, call the kettle black.
yeah. So he did say, well, that's not nice to do that, but I mean, but at the same time, again, if you play the clip, like
Sure.
he's just really throwing her under the bus and not defending her at all.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm gonna play the clip here, and It's like they get the audio, because sometimes the audio here, it gets turned down. Out advertising here. Just give me one moment. Gotta love the
We're so high tech here, right?
Yeah.
We're here on the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm here to share some difficult news. Following discussions with Minister Robinson, we have reached a challenging but necessary decision that Selina will be stepping down in her role as Advanced Education Minister. She will remain in our caucus. The reason for this decision is that over the past few days, both Minister Robinson and myself have been reaching out to the many communities that have been harmed by her remarks made on a panel that she participated in, to understand how to make things better. When you hurt somebody, you need to reach out to them and try to figure out what the best way is to reduce the harm and address the hurt that has been caused. The depth of the work that Minister Robinson needs to do in order to address the harms that she's caused is significant. And it is incompatible with her continuing as Minister of Advanced Education, given the volume and the depth of the work that she needs to do. It's certainly a challenging decision for Selina, for me, that she will take this step. But it is important to recognize that the harm and the hurt in communities is the focus here. We have a lot of work to do as government. British Columbians are facing big challenges, and we need to be there for them, and we need to be bringing people together. And so Selina's work for the next little while will be focused on addressing that division that she increased with those comments.
Wow.
So like he was throwing her under the bus big time, right?
Yeah.
And I have a huge problem with that because like that one part where he says the depth of the work that Selina Robinson needs to do is significant.
Wow.
And again, let's go back to the comment. It was 4 words, 4 words, crappy piece of land. Apparently that counts as hate speech.
Oh.
When you say crappy piece of land, that counts as hate speech. And I don't know why, because again, I was trying to make the point. It's just emotional context of like how you were emotional about, you know, that you and Sonia are away from Langley. Same thing. She was providing emotional context, and she said, like, she did apologize, and she said, you know, primarily I was talking about how, you know, the southern portion of Israel is not very forgiving agriculturally, and that's true. That's true. So I think it was a two-pronged thing of she was providing emotional context of saying when the Jews first came to Israel, they felt displaced, they felt like they had no home, just like you and Sonia feel you have no home. So you kind of have that emotional gut feeling of like this is a crappy piece of land. Why can't I go back to the home where I was? Right? So that's what I mean. That there's that emotional connection there of that hurt feeling of like, wow, I don't feel like I belong here. And so it wasn't a slight against Palestine. It wasn't hate speech. It was just providing emotional context. That's all it was.
And is it got blown right out of context?
And it was a true statement. It was a true statement, emotional context, and a true statement of yes, you know, the southern portion of Israel is not very agriculturally friendly. I mean, it is now because of technological advances. They've been able to turn some part of the desert into you know, proper agricultural land now. But certainly at the time of 1948, you had like over 60% of that land. You couldn't grow anything on it, and that's all she was saying.
Oh wow.
You know, so
that's interesting.
So you're going to tell me that David Eby is going to throw her under the bus and basically treat her like a child for that? You know, I don't know. I have a big problem with that. And
Yeah,
again, of course, I have an opinion because you know my son is Jewish, so I have some bias there.
yeah,
But like I said, saying that, I also don't like the idea of war, and you don't either, and neither does Selena. Like she's gone on public record saying, I don't like this war. A lot of people in Israel do not like this war. I do not like the fact that you know Israelis are dying. I do not like the fact that people in Palestine are dying. You
yeah.
know,
But I mean, there's
so
people that live in my building that are from some of the war-ravaged countries that are happening right now. And I've had a lot of lengthy discussions. I mean, and they're awesome people, awesome people. I have people in my building that are from the Jewish community, and like there's people from all walks of life in my building. And you know, there was a few of them coming downstairs one day. I went to go and let somebody in the door in our building. It was a contractor, and amazing the conversation. And they were from all different walks of life, and they were all talking like really good English.
mhm.
Amazing discussion what they said, and the harmony was no more war, no more war around the world. And these are coming from like the ones that are to or from, you know what I mean, like the ones that are like against each other, the different countries, and they all came in harmony. Like they were talking, saying no
Yeah,
more war. And
yeah,
that's when we say there's people on good sides of each country.
yeah.
On side,
Both
my
sides.
mom
Yeah,
used to say that to me all the time. That Brent, war, then nobody wins out of it. There's casualties. There's good people that are die on every angle of every good country. And yes, there's going to be people that are always going to want to fight, always fight. You're going to get that in. She said you're going to get that in within political parties. I mean, as I got older, we talked about that. I said, remember we used to talk about things? She goes, yep. And I said, yeah. And she goes, you're going to get that in different political parties. They're going to throw pencils across the floor, or make so someone would trip over it, you know what I mean, or
mhm.
do something to stumble them up on their wording, and kind of throw it out of context. And you know, I can give you an example of something that was on the headline just this morning on the talk radio, on CKNW. They were talking about $6,600 expenditure.
Oh yeah,
And I'm sure Rob Shaw will be talking about that on when we get him on there. I'll ask him
yeah,
about that. So I mean, yeah, but you know, the basically the repercussion on it was, well, splashy headline said $6,600 for a limo. Well, that when I'm referring to that comment, and that's from our finance minister Brenda Bailey. Well, people said, what? $6,600? Yes, but it was actually not a limo. That's the main company. That's the main company, but there's subsidiaries underneath the company. It was an SUV, and the
yeah,
value of a maybe a limo driver. You're paying a driver $6,600 for 4 days to travel
yeah.
around five different prominent people that were with the minister, and she
Yeah.
wasn't the finance minister at the time. She was a jobs, economic, and I guess whatever the portfolio was for that. But she
Mhm.
traveled away to Boston, right?
Yeah.
Boston, Massachusetts, in the U.S. So yeah, and she said, yeah, it's one of the things that governments have to do, like ministers have to do. She said to for
Yeah.
innovation and job creation for British Columbia of having partnerships. And now, like
Mm.
we mentioned about David Eby, you know, same thing. That's why he's in New York, or he was. Now he's back at the UBCM for a couple of days. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully he showed up there. I don't know if he was there for
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday,
We
but
we
yeah.
should get off the pod. It's been an hour and a half, Brent, and I again, it's a little bit discombobulated show today
Yeah, but
because
we were kind
I
of
think I made too many notes, honestly. But
we made
I
it
hope
informative.
I
Oh,
made some good points anyway.
you always make good points, so Neil. It's more educational purposes for people to get an idea of why certain things happen for whatever reasons.
Mhm.
I think that kind of to my ending part for today's show would be, I want to see all parties, political parties in BC, get along, work together more effectively.
Mhm.
Listen to lived experience stories. Put it in your platforms. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. And I can teach you how not to be shy. I mean, I was shy when I was a kid, very shocked.
How many more people are going to leave the party?
How many more people are going to jump? Yeah, I mean, rumors have it that yeah, I mean, there could be a nice good handful that are going to leave the Conservative.
Yeah.
But how many people are going to leave the NDP? How many people are going to leave the Green Party? Well, Green
Yeah.
Party only have 2 people in the legislature.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that parties can grow. I think that they can learn from mistakes, work together, get all the good pointers, and maybe there's mistakes, then they can maybe correct them by working with each other rather than throwing things at each other. Because really, I think that why people get into as an MLA or as an MP or MPP in different provinces that have MPPs. I always kind of wonder why certain provinces have MPPs, but
Yeah.
It always stumped me on that one. But anyway, in BC we don't.
An extra P.
Yeah, in BC we don't. We just have MLAs, right?
Yeah.
But I just wanted them to work together more effectively and across party lines. I mean, I know that they do a lot of work behind the scenes, but seeing headlines of throwing accusations at each other. I mean, and I know that's what they do. I mean, because they vote for me, I've got your best interest. Well, why not say, well, yeah, you can say, well, this is what the minister is doing or what the government's doing, but you could also say, this is what we would do, instead, or how can we better things? Like I can say, like I come on the podcast, I could say, well, housing's unaffordable, Neil. The government hasn't raised our rates. But I can then give reasons why the government should be doing things.
Yeah.
And I want to see the government saying, yeah, we recognize what citizens are saying. How do we correct the problem? How do we get rid of homelessness? And that's what the UBCM, that's what they all, like I said, all the mayors and councils, they've got together and saying enough is enough. Now, 3 things that stand out that I've noticed are affordability in general, housing affordability, and also income inequality. And then
also
food
the crime too.
Yeah, and food insecurity. You've got a whole broad range of issues. Now, it all stems down to why didn't they raise the rates? So again, if you raise the rates, and I think that's part of the problem too, is that it's part of embedded into their legislation and the policy saying, if you don't raise the rates, now you can maybe better a person's well-being. You can put less strain on the healthcare system, get them into really good housing. I know some of them maybe not be able to get into housing. I mean, they should be in some kind of housing, like get them off the street, but get them into wherever they need to go to get that care that they need. I guess that's the easy way of summarizing it without stepping on toes and saying, well, that's, you're saying that that's what they need. I don't know the solution. The politicians are supposed to know the solution on these things. But they're not doing it. They're saying there's more to do. There's more to do. And that's what the mayors are saying. That's all they keep hearing is there's more to do, but nothing ever happens. Blame the government. They caused it. Well, I'm sorry, like current government, work with the cities, work with the municipalities. I was just downtown Victoria earlier today before the podcast. My gosh, a person in a scooter got a big giant hood over top of him. He was inside of a Dollarama. He tried stealing something out of the Dollarama. He was told to leave. We passed right by him. He literally, the security said, get out. Next thing I know, I see him down the sidewalk. I'm waiting for a bus. And guess what? He cut right in front of another young lady who was minding her own business. She had just glanced out for not even half a second, and he aimed his scooter right toward her. She was going into a Shoppers Drug Mart, and he called her a few names, and I'm not going to say the names because my mom said if I were to say that when I was a kid, I would have had a bar of soap in my mouth. So you can imagine. And she didn't know. She was in shock. She just continued on to Shoppers Drug Mart. She shook her head. And he kept on cursing away as he was going on. That's what's going on in the streets, and it scares tourism. It scares small businesses. It scares people in the community as a resident. I don't go downtown at nighttime. There's only certain areas that I will go downtown where I feel safe, but on the main street, won't catch me going down there. No.
Well, and this is where I can say my final comment is that, you've got you've got John Rustad, and we just finished talking about David Eby too. That's two examples of leaders of parties that were more concerned about their own well-being, about preserving their own political interests. They're more concerned about their own well-being and protecting themselves than protecting the people of British Columbia, right?
Well, I can use one example where now, like of course, it comes down to different leadership skills and different their I call it mindset, right? And the mindset is that having discussions with John Horgan when he was our premier, God rest his soul. I think about him a lot, and and his family. Of course, I look back at different conversations I had versus raising rates, employment, right? I look at what I used to be able to do, what I could do, what I can do. The mind says yes, the body says no, and you push yourself, and guess what happens? You create more of a problem. It enhances your disability more. And I've learned that over life, that just enjoy life. Don't push yourself so much that your quality of life then gets worse, right? Because then what do you have then? If you don't have your health, what do you have? Like, what do you have at the end of the day? And I learned that from John Horgan, everybody. John Horgan taught me, Brent, you are who you are. I respect you for who you are. I like you for who you are. You're a great advocate. Keep pushing us. I said, John, I remember Christy Clark hearing when she was in government. Whoa, he goes, whoa. Okay, and then he goes, okay, again, don't talk about the past government. Talk about the current government. You can say, yeah, that the harm that was done to people with disabilities, right? We can do better. We must do better. And he says, and that was his mission, that he knew he needed to do better. He wanted to do better. Something stopped him. I don't know what, after a period of time. And that's what I'm going to get to the bottom of. And that's
But that is the difference of
That's what I
John
mean.
Horgan for me, is that
Yeah,
I honestly think that his eyes were always on the people of
people.
BC.
Yeah, he
It
said
was
people power. He called it people
keeping the
power.
people of BC like front and center.
Yeah,
And you don't see that
you
when you
don't
have
then.
all these power struggles going on between for John Rustad and David Eby. You
Yeah.
don't see the people of BC, British Columbia, being front and center in the minds of both of those leaders.
Well, that's what I mean. I
Yeah.
don't. The mindset is that when he said to me, "You know what you can do. You know what you can't do, Brent. I can't speak for you. You know yourself better than anybody else." I go, "Yeah," and then so when I look fast forward over time, I look at David Eby, and I always refer back to that talk show of the question that the premier was willing to take questions, and that was awesome. I thought, wow, he's willing to take questions from the audience calling in. You had to get right to the point of what your question was, and I was right to the point. And my jaw dropped. I literally hung up the phone. I could have been on there for about another 30 more seconds because I knew that the moderator had told me when I called in, okay, you're going to have maximum 1 minute. I didn't even I hung up the phone. Like I was disgusted that what I heard in response was it was more about the job narrative. And then when John and I had that same conversation, almost identical words, John had said to me, Brent, you know who you are. I can tell you what I'm going to do, or I'm going to try the best I can. I can't promise everything. I'm not going to. And he said, remember when I said to you from day one, I can't promise everybody to make everybody happy, and I never will make everybody happy, but I'll do my damn best, he said. And that was
Level
his
best.
yeah, his word. It came out. He says, "I'll do my damn best." He says,
Oh, okay.
and I'm like, "Wow!" And he says, "Yeah." So when David had spun that narrative out there, it to me it was very hurtful. Like I was like, "Wow!" I mean, John would have been very upset with David for saying that.
Yeah.
Like very upset, and I think that's where I see leadership differences. And when I saw in the platforms again, the Conservative Party BC, nothing in there for PWD. BC NDP was CDB, Canada Disability Benefit, but nothing about raising rates. All I hear is there's more to do. 5 times we raise rates. That narrative, it's like, it's old, it's archaic, let's renew things. Let's make things better for people. Not just for, I mean, people with disabilities, seniors. Okay, seniors. Their pensions. Oh my gosh, they are so low. There's a lady in my building. The cost of living is going up, and she doesn't know what she's going to do. And she has disabilities, though. I mean, she has more disabilities as you get older.
Apparently they go away when you turn 65, Brent.
Apparently. Yeah, apparently, I guess the government is like unicorns, pink unicorns.
Yeah.
But
Poof,
she's
they're
worried.
gone.
She's worried, though. I mean, and same as us, we get worried.
Mhm.
And the political cartoon here, like this is no joke. This is not.
It's no joke. Yeah.
Like this is no joke. This is real lived experience. It's one thing that Sonia had mentioned the other day. She posted onto X Twitter. I know someone had referred to me recently that don't keep mentioning about Twitter on the show, but I need to mention about a certain topic where maybe Sonia, I don't want to put you on the spot, but she typed something out that was very important that I needed people to, that I wanted people to read and know that like this is real, like a real problem that could very well easily come to fruition. Did you want to repeat that, Sonia? Okay, she wants me to, so I have to try to memorize. I'm going to pull it up here just so everybody knows, because I didn't memorize it word from word, but I will pull it up and I'll tell you kind of where things are at about affordability here. I can find her post here. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. While I'm looking it up here, I want to acknowledge there's some birthdays coming up actually very soon here too. Yes. But as soon as I find it, Sonia, maybe you can find the post.
September 27th, isn't it, Brent?
Can find your post here. Trying to memorize words, but I don't want to pause the show here. Well, she's just going to look it up here. It's a post that she did, and I think it was very important regarding the relocation. Sonia, can you maybe pull it up on your phone? Maybe on your phone you have better luck, and I can read it. I can read out something that she posted. It really touched home again, something that we talked about just earlier in the podcast about relocating to Langley. But it was something that was more in depth that what Sonia had posted. Have you found it, Sonia? She's still looking? Oh, look under your own profile. You'd probably be able to find it faster. She's still looking. Oh dear. I should have actually had it in queue so that I knew that it wasn't something that I was going to bring up on the show, but I want people to understand about affordability. When we talk about affordability, I could say, yeah, it's affordable if I'm making $600,000 a year, I'm making $1 million a year. That's affordable to me. Or one the other show that we were on, I said about affordability. If you're making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, well, that's affordable too, right? For some people. But to rent the same place that a person with disabilities gets on their PWD check, well, they can still pay that rent. I mean, it's hard. You can do it if you got a couple people in there. But you need to be making X amount of dollars. So affordability, that's not always the case. So are you having difficulty finding that, Sonia? Look under your notification then. Maybe
you can always revisit it again on another podcast.
Look under your notification. Under your notification. You found it? Oh, she found it. It's somewhere embedded there, so I'm going to have to correct that problem later. Okay, so Weatherman and I, okay, on Twitter, that's why I'm called Weatherman. Okay. Okay, her font is so tiny. Weatherman and I, 7 months to find a cheaper place in Victoria, and if we can't, it's off to the Eastern Fraser Valley. Okay, and she referenced Chilliwack, where rent is a lot cheaper. Okay, not the word not, emphasize the word not in capital letters. One of our places where we want to be. So when I reference that where we want to be, and I'll get to that point in just one sec, Not sure what the BC government is planning on to increase disability rates. So, with that being said, I want to retweet and like the post so you can find it. The basically the point is the place of not wanting to be. The place to be was Langley. That's where I grew up since I was just a little munchkin. When I was
and that's why I referenced your emotional connection.
Yes.
You were actually crying.
Yes.
You were actually crying. You had the emotional connection to
I
Langley.
held back quite a bit of the time, but it really touched base because I remember going to that same park when I was just a kid. Get ice cream truck would pull up, and my grandma and my biological mother, who I didn't know at the time was my biological mother. Now that's the freaky part, that I went down. They took me down to Douglas Park, and there was swings there. Oh, it was neat. Like playground was there. It's still there, but they've modernized it a bit now, but it's still there. They still got the tennis court there. It's getting it works. The city keeps up with it, but there's different things that I remember when I was a kid. So anyway, long story short, ice cream truck was there. They treated me to an ice cream. I will always cherish that. And so when I sat in that spot doing that one video that day, it brought tears. I'm a very emotional attachment to me in that area. Here's the problem, folks. The BC government hasn't raised our support rates in 4 years. And that was, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt on the 4 years, but that was based on COVID supplement. Yeah. Technically, it was in 2019 in the BC budget of $50 when it was increased. Before that, it was in 2017. Not talking about the shelter, we're talking about the support, because shelter was last increased in 2023, 2 years ago. Our rent has gone up. So I guess our point of the post that Sonia did was that our rent's going to keep going up every year. It's now getting to a point where our rent keeps going up. Where do we cut back? We can't cut back any further. I cut back on food. Then you start not having nutritional stuff. It affects Sonia's blood sugar levels because she is type 1 diabetic. So she has to watch the kind of foods that she eats. Tries very hard not to eat starchy foods. I mean, who doesn't like starchy foods, right? I mean, pasta, this and that. She loves pasta. So she has to eat in moderation. So we try to fluctuate things accordingly, where it's less starchy. Things convert into sugar. Starch converts into sugar. So there's everything has sugar in it. So she has to really be careful, moderate things. She doesn't have to go without. She just has to really be careful and moderate things. Sure, she can inject herself with her insulin pen.
I don't have an insulin.
But she has a pump. I mean, she can do it that way. She can do it manually, but she has it controlled with a pump. But she'll talk another day on the podcast. I'll do an episode on what she goes through, and a little sneak peek of a show. She'll talk about what she goes through on a day-to-day.
Well, and again, we have to say we're getting Rob Shaw hopefully will come on Monday. Yeah. Barring any other work assignment that he has to do.
Yeah. I'm interested to hear, about what Rob has to talk about for sure.
For the UBCM and everything, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and this was like the cartoon politics, but when the part that I gave you about the reality of cartoons, where it wasn't a cartoon, and that's to our audience. It's like real lived experience. So we fear. We actually are worried because we don't want to have to go all the way out to Eastern Fraser Valley to move, because the government won't increase our rates, because the government will pay for a moving supplement only to a point if it's substantially reduced. Now that rent is reduced, but it's not substantial enough. According to the government, it's not substantially reduced. I don't know how much further substantial they want. You can't go any further than that. You can't rent anywhere for a whole PWD check, let alone $500 for shelter, right? So that is politics. That is cartoon politics. And I want to see the end, the eradication of legislative poverty in British Columbia and every single province that have people in their province that have disabilities. We can collectively come together and end the cartoons.
Instead of death to Canada, death to the United States, and death to Israel, it should be death to all unicorns. death to all
Yes.
pink unicorns, right?
Yes. Yes.
Can we all agree on that? Can we all agree on that? That should be
pink unicorn.
death to pink unicorns and not
Yeah.
death to Canada, not death to the United States, and not death to Israel. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, and I know there's a lot of union representatives right now, union workers that are actually on picket lines in British Columbia. It has really escalated a lot. They're not stepping down. They're going to continue until until their voices are heard.
Mhm.
I want to see PWD, people with disabilities, join them on the picket line if you are able to. Let your voice be heard. Let the government know that it's not okay. And any union member watching this right now, could you do me a favor and integrate into your agreements that you have with the government to ratify a collective agreement? Put it in there that the government needs to raise our disability rates up to no less than poverty level financial support.
Yeah.
That's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
And this is and like like I've went recently and we did a
Status quo isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
Status quo isn't working.
we went to a rally out in Cowichan Valley for the bus drivers for the Victoria Transit Riders Union in solidarity with the bus drivers, the unions, and they actually said we'll stand in solidarity with you as a person with disability. I actually stood up there and actually gave a presentation.
Mhm.
Yeah, and really, like there was lots of people there. And did I get stage fright? No. Why?
Mhm.
Because I was just being myself and being honest and how I felt, and the repercussions how lack of cartoon politics has on people's lives. I mean, you played with bus drivers' lives, their well-being affected everybody in the community. Ripple effect through other communities. Not raising rates, it really has a whole domino effect. I mean,
Mhm.
seeing what bus drivers go through too. Oh my gosh, like their income inequality, food insecurity. People lose weight. They were losing bus driver. He said the guy says he lost 18 pounds from
Wow.
not eating properly.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And this is all about government neglect, about contracting out to Transdev. So cartoon politics, everybody. Don't play with people's lives. Like just start respecting people in the province. We can make it a better place. I mean, I don't care what political party you are.
Mhm.
When you say you're going to do something, do it.
Mhm.
Because that's what John taught me. If you're going to say you're going to do something, if you're going to promise something, then follow through with it. Don't start scapegoating.
don't just be all about protecting your own skin
Well,
and
yeah,
your own political hide.
yeah, and that's one thing he taught me. Like he said, Brent, when I said I was going to, first thing before we got in government, when I said, remember I said I was going to increase you guys' rates by $100. Did I do that? Oh, yeah, you did. Right. I promised you guys that. I kept my word. And so he says, any politician who says they can't do something, they can. It's all political choice. And
So when you promise a $1,000 rebate, grocery
same thing.
rebate,
Same thing. Yeah, same thing. You
right, David Eby? Anyway, we
David,
gotta get out. We gotta punch
Anyway,
out,
thanks
Brent.
everyone. I hope you enjoyed the extended long version.
It always is.
It always is. It always is. That's why everybody loves us so much. But hey,
we can't do this. We cannot do this when Rob's on. Okay.
no, we cannot. But
I'm gonna be slapping your wrist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be slapping your wrist so hard, Brent, when Rob Shaw is on.
Yeah, because
we
Rob
gotta
won't
stick to under an hour.
You love the mug, everybody. Reach out and yeah, let us know. Anyway, yeah.
So if Rob Shaw can watch all the way to the end,
oh my gosh,
if he can watch all the way to the end of this podcast, I'm telling you right now.
Oh, poor
I'm
Rob.
telling you right now, Rob, that I promise that we will not go long.
Brent will be.
Yeah, zip it. Yeah.
Zip it. Yeah, no problem, Rob. But yeah, we'll be looking forward to having you on, and we'll keep it under an hour. Sure. Anyway, just joking. Anyway, have a great weekend. We got an inspection coming tomorrow. They're doing an insurance inspection on the building.
And I got strata stuff I got to do right now too. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get off too.
Our fear is getting up there for tomorrow. That's why the show's today rather than tomorrow. Yeah. So anyway, hopefully all is going to go well. Our birthdays are coming up on Saturday the 27th. Sonia's and my birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Cheers,
Same
everyone.
day, different years. Anyway, have a great
Yeah.
weekend, everybody, and we'll stay tuned until we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Take care.